Hey, thanks for clicking in. I'm Amy, your premier real estateologist. I used to be an attorney in South Florida for many, many years, but now, honey, I am out of the office and into the streets, out there to help you find and make the best deals possible in South Florida. I'm going to bring you useful information, so be sure to click on all the things and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you're notified of new videos as they come out. And of course, feel free to call me, email me, text me, WhatsApp me. Any way you want to communicate with me, do it. I'll get back to you. I love talking about this stuff. Now, I show you behind me the beautiful Fort Lauderdale, where this video is coming from today on a lovely, chilly December day. Winter in Lauderdale at the making of this video. So here we are. Now, let's go. Hey, so here we are over in one of the arts and entertainment and museum areas of Fort Lauderdale. So we have museums here and the Performing Arts Center, and also all of it on the river. I mean, look at that. Can you see that river behind me? Gorgeous. And the downtown condos with a view of the river. And over there behind me, over there, is the Performing Arts Center. We'll walk that way. But first, we'll walk through what's known as Esplanade Park. There are frequently amazing outdoor events here. We have the Jazz Festival once a month that runs all the way through Esplanade Park and all the way behind me along the river. A bunch of stages, musicians in the grass, people just come with their little chairs, picnic blankets, doggos, and enjoy it. So I'm up on the stage of Esplanade now, walking backwards. Fabulous entertainment. Sometimes people come here in the mornings and do yoga. There's yoga classes. This is the beautiful thing about living in paradise with wonderful weather. Look at this beautiful close-up view of the river and all the condo units you can rent or buy with a view of the river. And these docks are supplied by the city. They're floating docks, so you don't have to worry about tying your lines too tight. And then right here across the street is the Museum of Discovery and Science, which is amazing. Inside, great for the kiddos and great for the curious. And also inside the museum is a wonderful IMAX theater. Plentiful parking. It's a pretty parking garage over there. And then right down the street is the Performing Arts Center that shares parking. This is a fabulous outdoor sculpture donated by so many benefactors of the Riverwalk. There it is, multiple theaters in there, and I mean great road shows, Broadway road shows. So if you end up in Fort Lauderdale, come to the Riverwalk section of town and walk through Esplanade Park, go to the theater, go to the Museum of Discovery and Science, and there are more museums as well. There's a little swing through the Broward Center for Performing Arts. This is the main concert hall. I mean, symphony orchestras, rock and roll comedians, just big names in there. So up here they have valet parking. That's the main theater we passed. Then there's the little Amaturo theater ahead of you. It's still a big size theater. I'll swing you around now and show you how, give you an idea of how close it is to the river and how so many things revolve around the river. This is the Symphony, a double tower condo that's gorgeous, secure, river views, just a fabulous place to live. Over here are great because they have the river and downtown. Still growing, so it's only going to get better. And here's the other side of the pavilion, which is the restaurant where you can go have a bite before the show. So now we're walking along the New River, which runs right through downtown Fort Lauderdale, and you can see development is still happening here. This building is a group of buildings actually is torn down. Thank God they're saving that gorgeous tree. And then it used to be the former place for smaller marinas, and this used to be the water taxis spot. Maybe it still is for now. But all this is going to be gorgeous apartments or townhomes, condos for sale and rent. So then if we keep moving around, the reason I took you on this end of the river is this is the historic part of Fort Lauderdale. This is my favorite part. This is where the settlers settled. Of course, they settled on the river with their trading posts and access before cars. So here's a splendid historical building. Be sure to come down and visit the historic section of Fort Lauderdale when you come. So we're back to one of the historic houses in Fort Lauderdale. We've saved 1, 2 so far. This part, actually, they call it Fort Lauderdale, Old Fort Lauderdale Village. So here is the Museum of History in Fort Lauderdale. I believe this used to be a rooming house or a hotel. It's really fabulous inside. I'm not going to take you in there because you have to come visit. How about that? And then now we're walking away from the river a little bit. River's back there. There's that bridge still going up. And there are a couple of more historic homes that the city has protected and maintained for archival and public use. Now we're headed towards a street called Himarshee Street. And then to the right, across the railroad tracks, are some more commercial historical buildings. And that's not historical, that's a parking garage, municipal parking garage. And all the government centers are over there where you record your deeds and all the public records. This little strip of Himarshee, pretty quiet right now, but from Thursday to Sunday, it is jamming. Young people. So turning on Brickell Avenue, still around the river. It's called Las Olas Riverfront Circle. This is a fabulous place to work. Lots of office space here. And this is the Society apartments coming up. I think Society's in a lot of big cities. So you're thinking about moving to Fort Lauderdale and you're not really sure whether you want to or not? Well, let's look at the pros and cons, the good and the bad, and all the things about Fort Lauderdale. The first thing I would say is the biggest pro of Fort Lauderdale, and one of the main reasons that I love this vibrant city, is the water. Water, water everywhere, baby. We've got the Atlantic Ocean. We've got the river that runs right through the city, in the middle of the city and downtown. That's the new river. We've got the middle river that runs up through the middle in the northeast section. Beautiful. They're natural rivers that run between the ocean and the Everglades. They go into the C11 canals before they get to the Everglades, but they're tidal rivers. The ocean, of course, is tidal. So you got rivers, you've got the ocean, the river of grass, of course. That's the Everglades. For those of you that don't know, the Everglades is not just a swamp. It is a river of grass, also tidal. And of course, we have the Swimming Hall of Fame. It is a magnificent, state-of-the-art, just renovated, multi-million-dollar renovation over on the beach. Diving platforms, like super high diving platforms. It's Olympic quality training facility. It's amazing. And of course, we have boating and fishing. It's known as the Little Venice, Fort Lauderdale, and it really is. We even have guys with gondolas on the boats if you want to do a fabulous little date off of Las Olas when you're downtown. So the number one pro of living in Fort Lauderdale is the water. Whatever way you want it, we have it. So the number two reason that most people move to Fort Lauderdale, and it's probably fabulous, is the thriving economy. I mean, this is really a vibrant city with a lot going on. I mean, just look behind me. This is the middle of downtown. We have a river running through it, a whole bunch of condos with views of the river, and a whole bunch of little neighborhoods behind these condos, and clubs and restaurants and all that going on. So there's always something going on in Fort Lauderdale. Sometimes I walk around any day of the week. I feel like I'm in New York. I'm saying to myself, does anybody work in this town? It's an old Grace Jones song, right? It's a wonderful place to visit, but it's even a better place to live. So what contributes to the thriving economy, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you.
The two biggies are the water and the hospitality industry and the marine industry. Those are the two biggest. The marine industry is huge here in Fort Lauderdale, starting with the International Boat Show that we have, where all the mega yachts come in from all over the world. It's truly amazing. It's worth a ticket, or if you're into buying and selling mega yachts, do it. You'll find a fantastic yacht here for sure at the, I think probably, I don't know, you might have to go to Monaco to find a better yacht, or Italy. The yachts here are just amazing. And the marinas are also quite accessible. So, yeah, fishing is phenomenal here. Very close. You just ride on down, go out to the ocean. The Gulf Stream is only like maybe 2 nautical miles out. It's very close. So once you get past the Gulf Stream, it drops off into deep water. You can find wrecks there and catch all kinds of fish. And if you want to know what kind of fish we catch out here in Fort Lauderdale, call me, text me, hit me in the comments, and I'll let you know what the main type of fish caught here are. Most of them very good eating. And then boating, the wonderful thing about Fort Lauderdale, if you like to drive around in your boat other than fishing, you can hop on and off the city docks into the restaurants or the restaurant docks. Just dock up your boat and go inside, have a meal, have some cocktails, all the things. It's really user friendly. And the other place you'll easily get a job is in the hospitality world. So that could be hotels and restaurants. So if you can cook and you can wait on tables, you can get a job probably in a matter of hours tops. And then if you come to work and show up and you're on time, you can actually keep that job and work yourself pretty high up in whatever the environment is there, because it is a little transient here. So if you're thinking about coming here and opening a restaurant, just know that the workforce is a little bit transient in the hospitality industry. And of course, the other thing that's fabulous about this city is that we have museums and theaters, and they employ a lot of people. And the other industry that does pretty good down here that people don't think about is tech. There are a lot of tech companies that have headquarters here. Citrix, I think, is our biggest one. And then we have a lot of independent tech companies here that, run apps that all of us have heard of and probably have on our phones. So that's about it. Thriving economy. Number 2, come and enjoy the sunshine and the vibe. The third fabulous reason for living in Fort Lauderdale and for visiting Fort Lauderdale is the food scene. Let me tell you, the restaurants here are absolutely amazing. From fresh seafood to Indian cuisine to Thai to Japanese, and most of these businesses, most of the good ones I would propose, are the chef-owned restaurants. And there are so many chef-owned restaurants down here that my mouth is watering just talking about it. So definitely the food scene. And it's not just on Las Olas, although there are lovely restaurants on Las Olas. It's also up Federal Highway, US 1, on the little cross streets like Sunrise Boulevard, Broward Boulevard. We've got holes in the wall, and we've got franchises like Cheesecake Factory. Whatever you want, we have it, and the food is fabulous in a lot of places. Now, the other cool thing is that you can jump off your boat and go have something to eat and jump back on the boat. But I find it's getting a little better as the city grows. But generally, I used to always say you can have a great atmosphere, but bad food, or great food and not, with views of the water and that whole atmosphere that we all look for. So, you have to take your chances there, but there are so many delicious places for foodies to find food. And we have breweries and we have gin distilleries. I mean, everything made here, like small batch stuff. It's amazing. Like, it's a legit city. So that's what I love about Fort Lauderdale as the number 3 pro tip: where to eat, what to drink, and all the fun that you can have in any environment, multiple environments. So that's all I got for the pro tips for Fort Lauderdale. But stay tuned because we're going to talk about other little cities near Fort Lauderdale that are only a 10-minute drive, maybe a 20-minute drive, maybe 30 minutes you go to Miami or Boca or Palm Beach. That's the other thing that's fabulous about Fort Lauderdale is it's just close to everything. The highways are easy. Sometimes there's a little bit of traffic, but just turn your music up, man. Okay, so now it's part of the negative Nelly part. It's the cons of living in Fort Lauderdale. So I hate to be Debbie Downer, but there are some cons, but there's pros and cons of living everywhere. I would say that the one of the cons of living in Fort Lauderdale is the houses are not cheap. So, living in paradise comes with a price tag, I guess, is what some would say. So if you want to live on the water, see like that little boat there behind me and all those boats, if you want to live on the water in a fabulous house with your yacht or your boat in the backyard, it's going to cost you money. Probably, let's say, waterfront property. If you're inland, like Sailboat Bend and Riverside, so probably 40 minutes to the ocean, and it's really not that long in miles. It just takes you a little while to get to the ocean because it's a no wake zone all the way. And the reason it has to be a no wake zone is you're going through the city. So, you don't want to throw a wake up on these people's docks and seawalls and foliage and stuff, be courteous. So since people weren't courteous back in the day, it's just no wake zone. That's it. If you're not courteous, we got to make rules, and the rules are no wakes. So it takes you 40 minutes to get to the outside. That's what we say, get to the ocean, to the outside. So, 40 minutes isn't bad, bring your water, bring your cooler, enjoy your boat, for Christ's sake. So, and if you're gonna live, well, I guess I was backing up. If you're gonna live 40-minute ride from the ocean, from the outside, you're probably gonna be paying 800,000 for a fixer upper, and then more up to the multi-millions, depending upon how far upriver you are and how far away from Port Everglades, the inlet that you are, and depending on the condition of the house and the size of the house. But you can find something here on the water for probably in the 800s and up. Now you can find beautiful homes, not right on the water, but close to the water for in the fives, 500, 600, 700, 800, probably in the greater Fort Lauderdale area, which is, I'd say, close to downtown and where the arts districts are in the northeast section, like the east side of town. You're looking at median home price probably 750. But if you go further away from the water, because everything's about the water here, you'll pay less. And don't forget, if you move here, maybe you might want to rent for a while and just kind of get the vibe and find out what neighborhood you like best and pull the trigger once you figure out where you want to live and how you want to live, and you watch the market a little bit. The one drawback of living in Fort Lauderdale is it costs you a little bit more to live in paradise than, for instance, living in the middle of the state somewhere in Florida. You can get yourself like a gorgeous house on a couple of acres in north or the middle of Florida for probably the same amount of money as the waterfront property, but you'd be sitting on a couple of acres. So if your jam is like mine, like blacksmithing, and you want to make a lot of noise and be in acreage, then North Florida may be where you want to be, or West Florida. We have some suburbs outside of Fort Lauderdale that are kind of close, maybe a 15-minute commute with traffic that have acreage and fabulous parcels of property, fabulous house, and you can do your thing and kind of feel like you're living on a farm and also yet be so close to the city and to culture. Okay, so the number 2 con of Fort Lauderdale, I'm really having a hard time thinking of cons, by the way, I want to let you know, but I thought of one. The number 2 thing that's probably not that great about living in Fort Lauderdale is mass transit. The mass transit kind of sucks here. We have buses, but you have to make so many changes. It takes forever to get anywhere, I think, unless you're going from point A to point B on that same bus line. But we have bus, we have trains, we have the Bright Line, which is fabulous. But again, it's not the quality that it is in other cities like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, the Bay Area. I mean, you can't even compare the train system. We got the Bright Line, which is fabulous, by the way. And the other thing that's fabulous, if you're going to be staying around the waterways in Fort Lauderdale, is the water taxi. I think they have like 29 or 30 stops, and it's just so much fun. It's easy to get around, and it's a lot of fun. So we've got buses, trains. We do have the Tri-Rail, Tri-County, so Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County. And that runs a little bit on the western tracks. And that is good too. And you can take it all the way to Miami Airport. You can take it to the north end of Fort Lauderdale if you're working there. And there are stops right in the office buildings. So the Tri-Rail's okay, and it's getting better. The Bright Line's okay, just doesn't have a lot of stops. The buses are not that great. So as far as the city goes, this city needs to work on its mass transit for sure.
Yes. Traffic. Fabulous traffic. It happens when you live in paradise. So here's a freight train running through the city over the new river. Some people cannot stand this, particularly boaters, because when these trains go by, they have to wait. They can't pass. So it's not a fixed bridge, but it has to go down for the train. My understanding that this train bridge up and down is operated from Jacksonville or someplace up in North Florida. Here we have the Florida East Coast Railway going right through downtown Fort Lauderdale. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Okay, so the third con that I can think of in Fort Lauderdale, after racking my brain and trying to find something that sucks about this city, is many people who don't live here worry about, and that's hurricanes. So hurricanes can be inconvenient. We've been quite fortunate, and we really haven't been hit with a big one, geez, in many, many years. I mean, we had Hurricane Andrew, which pretty much hit Miami hard, the ground zero. That was in the 90s. 2005, we had Wilma, which kind of hit more Pompano Beach, which is the city north of Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale really has not taken a big hit probably in 100 years. But every time we see one barreling down at us, we have to get ready. You know, you can't be stupid. You have to prepare. Now, what does that mean to prepare? First of all, have insurance. So that's kind of a negative thing because insurance is not cheap. Hurricanes are not as scary as people think they are. To me, I would be more scared of tornadoes and earthquakes. If you want to prepare a week early and get out of Dodge, you can do that. You know, batten down the hatches. If you have hurricane impact windows and doors, it's really not much you have to do. Just take your insurance policies with you if you have them, and catch a plane and go have a vacation somewhere and come back and deal with any mess if it really hits. The other thing you can do is stay here. And if you stay here, which is what I usually do, then you just, if you have your impact windows and doors again, no worries so far. They've held up. If you don't have hurricane impact windows and doors, then you have shutters. If you don't have shutters, there's all kinds. There's kinds that you drill in and they're metal, corrugated. And then they have just plywood. You can just drill the plywood in, cover up your windows, just, you know, leave yourself a way to get in and out. It's usually the door. And have a party. That's what we used to do when I was a kid. Hurricane's coming. Let's have a party. I don't know. It's just part of living here, and it's not as bad as you think it is. It actually can be quite fun. So that's really all I have. I cannot think of anything else that might be negative about living in Fort Lauderdale. But if you have any ideas, put them in the comments. I'll address them. Maybe I'll make another video about them. Thank you.